I don't know, because I don't know if what I want to do counts as just retooling, because I think it's issues from the top down. Like, everybody keeps talking Dennis Allen. Mickey is skating like Apollo Ono right now. Like,
facts.
Wow.
You know what I mean? There's bigger issues than just Dennis Allen.
Rat-a-tata, tata-tata, boom. This is That Saints Pod. I am the Patty V. We got Big Easy Nation, Mr. Jacob over here. I'm watching my man Miles laugh at this 36-year-old white man referencing Soulja Slim. And I got Mr. Dave Rainey down in the corner. How are we feeling today, gents? This is That Saints Pod. I don't know if I said that, but in case you didn't know, you were watching it, so you should have known. Yeah. Get it, Dave.
All right. You always throw me off. I know something crazy's coming with this intro, and it still gets me every single time. But hey, Soulja Slim, step up from Britney Spears. I'll say that. All right. All right. We're gonna
type that. Anyway,
I got you. We're gonna start with the obvious topic here, which wasn't a topic about 2-3 hours ago, but it is now. Alvin Kamara has signed a 2-year extension. What was it, $24 million, I believe is what it was. 24 and a half, something like that. I just want the thoughts, immediate reactions. Go.
It's about time.
It's about that time.
It's about time.
I'm gonna let Miles go. Miles always got opinions.
I'm real happy that he, he's sort of like he's not a hometown hero, but, he feels like he's from New Orleans at this point. So he sort of gives off that hometown hero vibe. Like he's just so New Orleans. Happy that he's staying, but also sort of like sad that he not going get a ring. Cause I'm just like, man, I would hate to be a part of the Saints for the latter end of my career right now, especially he still can perform. I think you're sort of seeing it with Derrick Henry. People was well, he's getting older, all this stuff. He's not going to be as good as he was. And we're just seeing with these, vets that they're still phenomenal, athletes, still could, run it all the way down the field. So I wanted him to go somewhere else to, go get a ring. But at the same time, I'm selfish and I'm happy that he's staying and he deserves it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm excited. There's two sides of the coin. I'm on both sides of the fence, just like you're saying. I am excited. I wonder if there's other things to this contract as well. Like if they're making this move to do other moves in the future. I don't know. There's all these thoughts in my head, right? I know how the Saints work. But I am also excited to see him continue in this offense if they can get healthy, which I'm sure we'll get into some of that in a little bit later. But yeah, I'm a little concerned as well for the rest of his career. I don't know. Dude, I'm all over the place. You can tell.
I did see it say $18 million for 2025, which is
there you go. That's what I was looking for. I hadn't looked into any of the contract numbers yet. I mean, you said them as we came in here. This just happened, to be fair. But yeah, I assumed we freed up some space somewhere with this signing.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page here. I've been saying for a while, I think Alvin has made his way to the top of my all-time favorite Saints list. He's the realest. He's got to be the realest dude to ever suit up for the Saints. When you get an Alvin interview, you're getting exactly how he feels. He doesn't BS around anything. And he just feels like a guy that wants to be in New Orleans. I've thought for a while he didn't really – every time there's rumors, I'm he doesn't want to go anywhere. The dude loves being able to just walk around the city and be unbothered and, all of that, man. I love Alvin. I'm glad he's staying. I'm with Miles a little bit. I don't see a world where he gets a ring here, sadly. But if this is where he wants to be, I'm all for it. How do y'all feel? There's a lot of criticism on the amount of money he's getting, especially when you compare it to Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry's at $8 or $9 million a year. Mm-hmm. Alvin will be at 12. The production right now is not close. You can compare the situations that's part of this. Go ahead.
As I know we were talking about like the health with the O-line and everything, but like in the beginning of the year, he was falling out when everyone was healthy. So, we get back to full health, we'll see that version of Kamara. Definitely.
So you think it's worth it? You think the 12 mil is worth it? You think he's worth $3 million more a year than Derrick Henry? Just curious. I only ask that because, and recency bias gets everybody right, but I only ask that because Derrick Henry is balling out right now, right? I mean, he's like one of the top backs in the league. He's got two. Even last night, he was had a phenomenal game, right? Like it's hard to deny someone who's performing so well. Jerry Jones is getting killed every day because he didn't sign him, which is hilarious to me. Yeah, I don't really care about the numbers so much. 12 mils, whatever. Derrick Henry is paid like an older back. Kamara is not paid like a super old back. They still clearly see some juice in him, but I think kind of going back to the numbers that I mentioned earlier and that you had pointed out as far as cap goes, it's always a cap move when the Saints make these moves. They'll overpay a little bit to move around money and just make it work. So if they're taking care of the guy, good for him. Also, is it real? Like, what does the contract say? Right? Like, is this Taysom Hill money? Is this like if you hit this incentive and blah blah blah? Like, the Saints are always real wonky with some of these numbers.
The only other thing I saw about it was I think it was like 25 million, but like 22 guaranteed, if I remember. So it's a good bit of guarantees, but
it was
it's too
bonus too.
Yeah,
I want to say.
But also, it's 2 years now. How many years does it end up being when they do ghost years and all these other things they're going to do next year? You know what I mean? Like, Who knows what this contract actually ends up being? And again, it just happened a couple hours ago, so we'll find out more as the days go. Miles, what are your thoughts on comparing them to the other contracts? I think it puts him right on par with Saquon.
His production and who he has been for the team, like being a constant. It's well deserved. I think for me I'm taking it as I'm happy for Alvin because I think he deserves it. But is it the best move for the Saints? Depending on how they use it, maybe. I don't know. Because there's such a wacky, organization when it comes from a managerial point of view. But I just hope this some way comes back and benefits the Saints and the fans. I know if they have the right guys in the front that he'll produce, and we'll be talking about him just like we talk about Derrick Henry. We like y'all said, we saw it in the beginning of the season where it was just like, wow, it looks like we got AK back. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was like, wow, we got AK-41 going crazy again. Like this might be our season, and injuries happen. Chemistry is definitely not there. You got a young QB in. You got a bunch of players that aren't playing, the position that they usually play because of injuries, and you sort of just in this wacky position. And he's in a bad position to not thrive and show people hey, I deserve this money. But I think that sneak peek that we got in the beginning of the season sort of told us yeah, he still got it, because I know Dallas don't look good and the Panthers don't look good, but the numbers he was putting up, they were numbers that you could sort of take, and say, these are valuable, valid numbers. This isn't some phony, you just got a lot of points this game because you're playing a wacky team.
Yeah, and I think not only you talking about health, the other thing with him is play calling and the way they use him. Shout out to my guy Ian on Twitter. Talk to him about Saints all the time. But he brought up, he kind of felt it was a bit of an overpay, which is fair. If you think that's the case, I can't really argue that. But he brought up that if they're going to use him as a wide receiver and utilize that part of his game, then he thinks it's worth the money, which is completely valid, because that's what makes AK special and unique, is his ability to be an elite wide receiver from, as a running back, as far as running backs are concerned. And I think that's, along with the injuries to the offensive line, that's what's held his numbers back and his production back for years now, is you don't see him lining up in the slot as much anymore. Even this year, when's the last time we saw a screen pass since the Dallas game? I feel like I haven't seen a good screen pass set up in weeks. You know what I mean? His passes now are just emergency checkdowns and things like that. So I think if they really
to the screen
Good.
game, like O-line hadn't been healthy at all, so we couldn't really develop anything.
But I mean, you still got. I feel like you still got to try it. Like I don't feel like they haven't even tried it. You know what I mean? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you got to try it.
They've tried it. It's been so ugly that they couldn't even get the pass off. Like there's been multiple times before Carr got hurt. Like I don't know if they did it much with Rattler last game. I'll be honest, I was on one last game with that. So
yeah, that game was a disaster.
There's some fuzzies around that one. Yeah, no, with Carr though, the last few games, I mean, he was like specifically the Chiefs game is the one that comes to mind. Chris Jones was in Carr's face. They tried to run like 2 or 3 screen passes and it just did not work. Like he didn't even have time to actually throw the screen. You would think, oh, they're getting through. He can drop it off. Now you got plenty of room to work with after, you know, the whole point of a screen is to get the rush in your face and then dump it over him. But it was in his face so quickly that they could do nothing. It was insane.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. But we know last year was a disaster when it came to how they used Alvin. And I think I've been saying I thought Sean kind of stopped using him in that dynamic role. Regardless, I think as long as they find a way to utilize both aspects of his talent and his game, then I think it becomes worth it because that's when AK is dangerous. We know he's not as good of a runner as Derrick Henry. Like Derrick Henry might be the best pure runner in the NFL. So to compare that, that is not fair. But when you add in Alvin's receiving threat, that's what takes him to that Derrick Henry level. So as long as they keep using that and we get healthy, I think it pays off. Does it look as good 3 years from now or 2 years from now? I don't know, at that point. But this year and next year, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on Alvin before we move on to talking about Denver and you look like you want to say something, Patty.
No, I'm laughing at Miles. That's fine.
What's pain, Miles? What you want to talk about?
You brought up the Chiefs game, and like I just started getting flashbacks, just like being like, "Damn, Derek Carr threw that awful last pass in that game."
You just threw it up there like praying.
And then also thinking the whole time, I was like, we still had a chance, sort of. Just a bad time.
First and 10 too, which to make it worse.
It's rough. It's rough. Speaking of things that were rough, Denver. The Saints lost to Denver. Spencer Rattler got his first start, and that's where I want to start. I want your initial reactions on Spencer Rattler, and then we'll talk about the other things that went on surrounding Denver and the Saints and all of that.
I know people would be like kind of hard on Rattler, but like, can you really judge him too much right now? Because like the O-line, I mean, you can. To be fair, you can. But the O-line is like decimated. We have no receivers at all. We're playing like with our 2021 receiving core. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Patty, I know you got thoughts on this. Let them fly.
Man, it's just frustration. It's really frustration. I mean, it's tough because it's hard to really. I'll take the high road first, and then I'll dive into my thoughts. Right? It's hard to really evaluate Spencer with everything that's going on around him. I think that, like you said it best on Twitter, Dave, like he looked like a 5th round pick, which he was a 5th round pick. I think the problem is a lot of people elevated him to be this guy that was like the number 1 overall pick, and he was going to be the savior of the organization. And then you drop him into an offense that's shredded. They got nothing around him, and he looks bad. I'm talking in circles here, but like personally, I felt like there's some things he could have done better that would have made him look better, right? Like people are going to point out the offensive line and say, oh, the offensive line was so bad. Here's the thing. He was getting blitzed to death, and he was not seeing it before the snap at all. Now, call it what you will. Maybe he's a little shook up because he's got that bad line. Maybe it's in his head. Maybe there's already like the time's off in his head. That can happen. But from what I saw, he just was not seeing it. And that is a concern. And I'll kind of leave it at that. I mean, there's obviously other things, like he's a little inaccurate at times, but he's got a great arm. Like there's so many ups and downs with him, and that's what you're getting with him, and that's who he was in college, right?
Yep. Go ahead, Miles.
I completely agree. And I started to get on the hype train for Spencer Rattler because I was like, if this is the way we're gonna just try to make the season feel better, is saying we might have a savior in Spencer Rattler, then I guess I'll just try to hope a little bit. But since the beginning, since we got Spencer Rattler, uh, I've been very adamant about how he is not someone we should be looking for in, as a franchise quarterback. I think he does have a lot of characteristics. I'm not going to say a lot, actually. He has some characteristics that can, make an organization intrigued and a fan base excited. Mostly is the aura that people like, but aura doesn't win championships. Just because some people think he looks like Patrick Mahomes, and sort of might mimic a couple things, not really anything to me personally. But yeah, that's not enough to win games. He definitely has an arm, but I think it's the mental aspect of the game that ever since he left high school, he just hasn't been that phenomenal of a quarterback. He's always had this high grade. I think when it comes to maybe like a quarterback contest, he might can show out. But in game, ever since he's been in college, and granted, he's had times where he's shown out. I'm not saying that he's not capable of it, but on a consistent basis in the NFL, I don't see him as a quarterback that another team will see and feel threatened by. And I don't want him to be the future of the Saints, to be, quite frank. I think just his indecision, when he's on the field, will lead to a lot of turnovers. Personally, I see a lot of Derek Carr in him. I'm not excited about a quarterback that just has an arm and has some aura. I mean, Derek Carr doesn't have the aura, but he definitely got the arm. We saw with all the Rashid Shaheed passes in the beginning of the season. But, the bad throws, and I know he doesn't have a line like y'all said. We all know he doesn't have a line. But first of all, if the offensive coordinator can't dumb the game down for him and try to make it as simple as possible, and he can't try to keep the game as simple as possible, I know it's easier said than done, but it seemed like a lot of overthinking, a lot of like, let's make big plays rather than let's work down the field. Let's get 3 yards each play, things like that. And I just didn't see I don't see what people see in him like as the future of this franchise. Because there's some people talking about, well, next year or even at the end of the year when we got a healthy team, finally he'll be able to like save us. And I'm just like, save us versus who? Because the other quarterback on the other team is going to be better. I'm not even almost. Every time the other quarterback is going to be better. Even damn Daniel Jones is probably going to be better than him. Just off the experience. Like,
I feel like Miles went off the deep end. I wouldn't go on that far.
I was gonna say, I feel like
I can't stand it, bro. Like,
You
people
make me want to
think he can be the
defend
future of the
Spencer Rattler,
Saints.
and I'm not.
When they got all these good they have phenomenal quarterbacks coming out of the out of college within the next 3 years that we should be looking at rather than thinking that Spencer Rattler is our next quarterback.
Yeah.
I think I'm somewhere in between the two of y'all, I think. I do agree to an extent to what Miles is saying. It's a bit overhyped with Spencer Rattler. Like he's got the arm for sure. When you talk about the aura, he carries himself like a starting quarterback. That's what it is. He's got the confidence. He speaks like a starting quarterback. But I think, and say what you will, I know it was only one drive, the last drive of the game, but I think Jake Haener showed you something that Spencer Rattler doesn't have, I'll say yet, and it's the quick decision making like you were talking about. What was that?
I was just saying yes. Yeah, the quick decision.
Oh, yeah. Jake Haener was hitting the back foot, ball was out, right? Mm-hmm. And granted, maybe that's because I know he didn't play last year, but he's had a year in an NFL system. Maybe that is the difference between him and Spencer Rattler. I'm not going to go as far as to say I'm going to give up on Spencer Rattler altogether yet. But if things were to, if the season ended today and the Saints ended with a top 10 draft pick, you by no means can pass up a top quarterback in the draft because of Spencer Rattler. Right. Not even like, and look, it's fair to say the offensive line was terrible. He's throwing to UPS drivers. Like, you know what I mean? Like he does not have any help whatsoever, but he hasn't shown you enough to pass up on drafting a top quarterback. Like if you're sitting at 7 or 8, wherever they're at, and Cam Ward, Shador Sanders falls to you, you pull the trigger faster than you've ever made a draft pick in your life. You know what I mean? Like, I understand wanting Spencer Rattler to be a guy. Like, of course, we all want him to be somebody. We want to see the next franchise quarterback. But as it sits right now, he's not.
You know, to go as far as saying like Derek Carr, he's better than Derek Carr. It's kind of crazy.
No.
It's a lie.
It's
first of all,
crazy.
It's
Right.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yes. Look, is that we all know, and nobody's sitting here like defending Derek Carr and saying he's the best quarterback on the face of the earth, right? But to think he is not as good as Spencer Rattler is insane. That is the most insane take I've heard anybody say. Now, if you want to make the argument you want to see Spencer instead of Derek Carr because you think the team is in limbo and you just want to see if you have a franchise guy, I'm all for that. At least you're picking a direction and you're rolling with it. But if you're saying Spencer should be the guy because he's better, that's just false.
Right. Basically, like he could be better. If you want to see if he could be better, I'll agree with you. But if you want to tell me right now he needs to start because he is better, we need to reevaluate what we're watching on the field. Because he don't see. When I say he doesn't see it, I don't mean he doesn't see like the receivers open and like people complain about, oh, this guy was open. Like Derek Carr doesn't see the check down or this isn't. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about pre-snap. He doesn't know what he's looking at. He's just lost. But he hides it because he looks very confident and people buy into that, his aura, right? But he doesn't see the blitz. He doesn't see whether it's cover two, whether it's man, whether it's single high. He doesn't see this stuff. And maybe he does. Maybe I'm tripping. But it doesn't look like he sees this stuff. And he allows the pressure to get to him because of it. And I made a comment in a Spaces where somebody called me a little wild by saying he was doing the same thing in college. And that's why people thought his college offensive line was bad. Maybe his college offensive line was also bad. But you can't mask a bad offensive line if you can't see pre-snap where you want to go with the ball.
Yeah. I do think, I don't want to act like it's all bad. I do think he had some moments. Like he does some things sometimes where you like, all right, when his ability to decide when to pull the ball down and take off at times is pretty good. Not always, but there are times where he's like, I see a hole, I'm taking it, and I'm going. He's got a little bit, he's not a runner by any means, but he does have a little bit more dual threat ability than Derek Carr does, right? Like that's something he offers that I think Derek Carr doesn't, but like that's not enough. And then there's other times where he's trying to do that and he's running 10 yards backwards, trying to make a throw and he fumbles.
Dude,
you know what I mean? Like
if that play would have counted, that would have been the most, maybe not the most embarrassing.
Well, one of them he did it twice and it did count the second time.
Yeah, but I mean the one where he bad snap or something, he bumps off, he's rolling out, he bumps off the guard or tackle. I can't remember who he bumped off of, but
he's at like the goal line or something like that nearly.
Yeah. No,
he's other side of the field.
Where it turned into a fumble recovery for a touchdown, but they called it back because they were offside.
But then he did it at the end of the game and it did. It was like the same exact play.
Oh, well, at that point, I had probably checked out. I'll be honest with you.
I was on my way home. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I did not rewatch the game. I missed the whole Hainer drive. I don't even care that he came in.
I don't think I watched it. I turned it off.
Yeah, let's there's one other thing I want to talk about as far as like in-game stuff for Denver, and then I want to touch on the Sean Payton aspect a little bit before we move on. Yeah. Are we finally ready to all be on the same page about this defense and tell the truth that they just aren't good, or are we still defending them? What are your thoughts?
All the missed tackles is just crazy.
It's frustrating because the potential's there. It's there. You've seen this defense play well. I'm starting to question. And my wife hates this because she's a big Dennis Allen supporter, not in like a coaching way, just in a human being way, which is fine. I'm starting to question if Dennis Allen is just starting to be in over his head. I think I said this to you, Dave, just in a random conversation. I think like all the aspects of being a head coach are getting to him. And I think that his defense is taking a hit because of it. I don't know if it's play calling. I don't know if it's attention to detail that he's overlooking certain things. You got to be able to tackle first and foremost. Second of all, running zone the entire game against Sean Payton. What the hell are you doing? Like, can we be a little smarter here? Like, was this like the Bobby Boucher moment, or not Bobby Boucher, but Waterboy moment, where he's literally like looking across the field and he just doesn't know what to do because he's intimidated? Like, what are we doing?
Listen, and if there's an offense he should understand how to play against, it's that one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
I don't know what's going on with Dennis Allen. Maybe it's the pollution in New Orleans that's getting to his head. I don't know what it is, man.
Orleans, but he lives on the North Shore.
He does.
We got clean air up here, buddy.
Y'all closer to the plants. But nah, I don't know what it is, bro. I think you got a leader in Demario Davis. You have a leader in Tyrann Mathieu. I've said my piece on Tyrann Mathieu, even though I think he's a phenomenal player, phenomenal, guy for the community. Like personnel wise, it's not my favorite type of safety to have. And just the age of the defense and the style of the defense, that Dennis Allen run, it allows big plays to happen. And you can't do things like that versus teams like the Chiefs. Like, they're going to take advantage of that. And you got a dynamic quarterback in Bo Nix. I know he didn't really have the best performance, but, a guy like that in the future, he's going to be a problem versus if we were to have the same type of defense that we run right now, and we're just going to face other quarterbacks that see the way that we play defense and just, to be honest, get surgical with us. I just don't see this defense being a viable solution in the future, especially in the playoffs. Like, you missing tackles in the playoffs, like, that's not going to work at all. It comes down to having the fundamentals from the players, and then you need to have a coach that can really understand the game and instill that into the players, and they use their God-given gifts and stay solid with the fundamentals, but also intellectually sort of comprehend what needs to happen in the moment. And that's something that I don't think this team in general is capable of right now.
I've been screaming from the mountaintops since the Eagles game when everybody was still hyping up the defense because they only gave up however many points, that the defense just isn't good. Sure, they didn't give up a lot of points in the Eagles game, but the Eagles could have had 9 more points than they did, and then the game's not close. I think for a couple of weeks I was defending it because I was like, all right, even in the Eagles game, the game ends kind of because the players run into each other, and that's not on Dennis Allen. Like, if the players are running into each other, I put that more on the players. But also in that same game, you allowed Dallas Goedert to run the same crossing route, it felt like 10 times, and just kill you on the same play over and over again. And then in the Chiefs game, that Adebo is struggling all game. And at the end of the game, you still got him. You don't put him in a position to succeed. And he cost you the game with another holding call. And then this week, it just, I don't know. It almost feels like, I don't want to say the players are giving up because I hate doing that. But man, it when you're missing tackles like that, it's hard to be like, are you really trying as hard as you possibly can right now?
I think Richard Sherman said it the best, bro. Like, seems like this team wants their coach to be fired. Like, that's what it dead ass feels like. It feels like nobody wants to play for each other because they sort of all know it's like, we're not going to be nothing.
Yeah. It felt like they were just going through the motions. I said that, like, I was talking to Dave. I was like, they came out flat, but like, how do you describe what flat is, right? Like, people say it all the time. It's like, what does that even mean? But like, that is what that means. Like, they came out with no emotion, looked like they didn't even know what they were doing. They're just walking through. Like, it was like a walkthrough. They had a pregame walkthrough the whole game.
Yeah. And there's some things I don't understand. Like in the Bucs game, what that game is. We put Marshawn on Mike Evans. We eliminate Mike Evans all game, and we go from there. This year, we don't do that. And we let a deep, like, what's going on with that? Like, why is Marshawn not traveling? I don't know. Like, there's just some things I'm questioning that he used to do in the past that worked, and he's not doing now. And, I'm not going to pretend to be some defensive mastermind and fully understand all of it. but that worked in the past and we're not doing it now. And when the defense is struggling, why not go back to it? You know what I'm saying? Like there's just some things I'm wondering. It just feels off. It doesn't feel right. And it's ugly, man.
JV team. We're the JV team playing all the varsity teams. That's what it is right now. Like it just feels like you sort of see some of the potential in the young ones. There's some outstanding players that's on the team that probably could go play varsity somewhere else. But yeah, you go play the big boys and you get just swept, belt to ass. That's what they've been doing to us all season.
Damn.
Patty disagreed a little bit. I saw a head shake.
I always cringe a little when I can't call an NFL team JV. Like I can't compare them to high school at all. I just like it's hard to it's rough.
It's not compared to high school. It's JV NFL teams. Is basically what he said. Which realistically, the offense is almost like a practice squad team right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like a practice squad team at this point.
I don't think the defense. Well, now they might be because they're just as banged up. I don't think the defense wasn't that bad. I think there's just been a lot of questionable play calls. They've played very vanilla in certain situations. Like you mentioned, like Marshawn not traveling, like he's trusting Adebo a little bit too much. Like there's just really some situations where it's like, what are we doing? And that goes back to last year too. Like I questioned so many play calls last year. And granted, I am not a coach. I am not a play caller. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But if I'm sitting at home like, yo, like this just doesn't add up. Is anybody else saying that? Like, are the coaches saying that? Are they in a meeting like, hey, why are we doing this? Like, who's holding the other ones accountable? What's happening on Airline Drive?
On top of that, you're not getting production from guys you thought you would be. Cam is what Cam is at this point. Like, I know people are criticizing him. Like, if you expected much more than this from Cam at this point in his career, I don't really know what to tell you. Like, this is what Cam's going to be the rest of his career. He'll set, as Patty has said in the past, he will set an edge, and that's about what you're getting from him these days. But to his credit, in the Chiefs game, he's hustling his ass off, and he single-handedly ruined 2 plays. Meanwhile, the guy on the other side, the one you signed this offseason in hopes that he would do something, is a non-factor. So, like, you're getting nothing from him. Effort is a problem from him. You can see it on the tape. Like, that's a problem. Nobody's really taken the next step. Granderson's been pretty good. Alante Taylor's been pretty good. Outside of that, and DeMario is DeMario, right? Like, he's just as consistent as they come. But outside of that, like, who has really taken a step this year that you expected to take a step? You know?
Let me think. Nobody.
Jacob, you've been quiet. You got any thoughts before I move on?
Y'all pretty much hit on all of them.
All right, let's talk Sean Payton for a sec before we get into next week. When Sean Payton, for me, walked out on the field, and for anybody at home, appeared on your screen in Denver Broncos gear in the Superdome for the first time, what were the feelings?
I was mad. I wasn't mad. I was so Amazon did this thing where they interviewed him like previously, and then they played like this, the interview before the game, and then they rolled into the game. And the interview, they basically just reminisced about New Orleans, and he got emotional. And when he got emotional, I got a little emotional. And then as soon as I got emotional, it all of a sudden hit me where I was like, "You quit on us." Fuck. Like I was like, no, you are not allowed to get me emotional right now. And then and then they showed him walking out on the field a little while later, and I was like, he actually looked like Peyton's a psychopath. First of all, he does a great job of removing any type of, I don't know what's the word, any type of adversity he's going to face, any type of I can't find my words right now. Anything that's going to confuse his team or himself, he's going to remove that from the equation, right? I don't know if he did a good job of that at the beginning of the game. Seeing the way he was looking around at the crowd, I'm telling you, there's a lot of emotion there for him still, and I'm surprised we were the ones that came out flat.
Yeah, I was very, and so we never I was at the game. We never got the opportunity to see what the crowd reaction would be. The only time they put him on the screen was when they were doing Drew's thing at halftime, and there was clips of him and Peyton together, and you couldn't react because Drew was also on the screen with Sean Payton, so you can't boo. You know what I mean? I was waiting for it because I wasn't gonna do anything. I was like, I don't know how to feel. Like, I'm mad, but also I don't feel right booing you. Like, I don't like you right now at all. And I'm with you. You quit, right? But I'm not gonna boo you. But I was very interested to see what the crowd reaction was gonna be, and we never got the chance. So I was kind of upset about that. I am surprised. We know how petty Sean Payton is, and I was wondering if he got booed and if the game played out the way it did, where they just dominated us, if we would get any like petty Sean Payton moment, and we didn't. I think that kind of goes to your point, Patty. Like, there's still a connection there emotionally, right? And I mean, as a human, like, how can there not be? Like, you didn't leave on bad terms or anything like that. If he had retired for good, it's a good ending, like between him and the fan base. Yeah. But I don't know. As far as go
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, as far as I'm concerned, like, one day he'll get right now, of course, love you for everything you did, but I don't like you for quitting. But one day he'll get the full appreciation from me and the applause and everything when he eventually returns to be inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame and all of that kind of stuff. But right now is not that time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really even be mad at him because I feel like if I was part of the Saints organization, they'd have probably made me run away too. It's just, and I know I'm just being such a pessimist, but shit, like, they just been aggravating the hell out of me as an organization. As an organization, they just been aggravating the hell out of me. And I'm happy that he got out and that he's in Denver with the nice air and, good transportation and stuff, I guess. I don't know, man.
Counterpoint,
I can't
though.
be mad at him. Like, it's not. The only other thing I can sort of think about is like Nick Saban going to Alabama, but it's not really that. He sort of just left. He didn't go to the Falcons. He didn't go to like another team that we sort of rivals with. He went to the Broncos, and he's not really doing nothing over there other than beating the Saints on an important date. But I mean, shout out to Sean Payton, man, New Orleans legend. Definitely is winning the mental battle right now. That's all I can say about that.
He slips on a patch of ice.
I was going to say there's no knock on Drew at all, but it feels like every game that he's been at, we've lost.
Oh yeah,
I don't think that's true. That. I think we just suck. I'm gonna say that.
I saw somebody post that Drew went to I forgot which college game it was, and the team lost, and it was like Drew really needs to stop going to games. Like,
it's a curse.
I just want to say something, Patty, real quick before you say what you are gonna say. To counter what you said, Miles, isn't Sean Payton kind of part of the reason the organization is where it's at right now? Like, he had almost all the control he wanted. He left the team in the state it's in. And I think that's part of the issue with the fan base right now is you just up and left us without having us prepared for the future at all.
I'm more so blame the president of the Saints and the Pelicans because, he's the president of both, and the general manager, because you sort of got, when you make an organization, it's got to have some type of emergency plan, emergency exit for if somebody that's important leaves, that you sort of got a plan in place for, to try to stay afloat. It seemed like we had zero plan. If anybody was, it was sort of the perfect storm of just BS that happened to the Saints. Drew leaves, Sean Payton leaves. Now we don't have Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara almost just left. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like we just keep getting knocked down by these big L's. Who knows where Marshawn is, Lattimore next year. But I don't know. I just feel like I more so blame the upper management rather than blaming a head coach. I know he had a lot of power and stuff like that, but it's not up to him for the day-to-day processes of the New Orleans Saints. It's up to the people that have the job to do that. So that's where I'm at.
I think y'all are dancing around what is the main reason he left. Like you're saying he wanted power, and you're saying that Mickey Loomis should have done his job a little bit better. I think that was the issue. I think that they were butting heads a lot, and I think Peyton eventually was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like I genuinely think that they're friends, or maybe they pretend to be friends, but I think that there was a power struggle, and I think that's why he left. Like dead serious. I think that it had just ran its course where they were tired of working with each other, and he was ready to go.
That's fair.
That could be true.
Yep. And Miles, you're talking about everybody leaving. This is the definition of the end of an era. Like if you looked up the end of an era in the dictionary, it would be what has happened to the Saints in the last 5 years. And that happens.
Yeah, that happens with every great team who has a great franchise quarterback.
Right.
Like it's hard to come back from that. Like not everybody's the damn Packers, right? Like nobody gets lucky like that.
I am positive Patriots fans feel the way we feel right now. Maybe 10 times worse, because they were the franchise, right? So it's just the first time it feels like we're really going through it, I guess. And it's
What's sad is we've never really been. We've just hovered around 500, which sucks. That's the worst part. Is like being around mediocrity, because then every year you're like, oh, maybe you trick yourself in after you beat the damn Cowboys in week 2, and then
yeah. All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about injuries and roster moves, and going to the West Coast to face the Chargers. A little bit of injury news real quick. Adebo goes to IR after breaking his femur, which is the most insane injury I've ever heard in a NFL game. I don't even know how that happens in an NFL game. So, Shaheed to IR, which leads to Marquez Valdez-Scantling being wide receiver 2, I guess. Like, I don't know. He's here now. He's something. He's on the team. Good injury news, though. Nick says that Taysom, Cesar Ruiz, Pete Werner, and Olave all have a chance to come back this week. So that's good, especially Taysom. This team is a different team with Taysom. So for whatever reason.
Too, right?
And I think he said Lucas Patrick might have been a little bit more of a stretch, but it is possible. And Derek Carr started throwing, but it seems like he's going to be out one more week. And with that said, it seems like Spencer Rattler is going to start again. So are we cool with that after seeing the last drive from Jake Haener?
I don't care. I wish they would give Haener an opportunity. I've always said that. I've always banged that drum, but I do understand why they are continuing to let Spencer get in there. Like, you want to see what you got with him, right? I just talked very poorly of him. Miles talked very poorly of him, but there is a reason they are starting him. He's got every tool you would want in a potential starting quarterback. You just want to see other things come with it. So you give him another opportunity. I'm okay with that.
Especially if you're getting a relatively healthy team.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm intrigued to see him with Taysom and with a better offensive line. And then from there, if he's still, under pressure constantly, I'm gonna be bringing up what I said a little while ago.
I kind of want the excuse. I kind of want the excuses to be gone for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to see him without the excuses. Now, granted, he'll never have the full offense because Shaheed is out. But, like, Rashid Shaheed should not make or break you as a franchise quarterback.
Rashid Shaheed is not a number 1 wide receiver.
No, he's not. But he's underrated.
No, he's very good, absolutely. But
I know. I just said that because some people think he's a number 1 wide receiver. Yeah, I just would never say he's a number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah,
my overall point is, if you're a future franchise quarterback, that should not be the reason you're not a franchise quarterback.
Right.
So heading out west, face the Chargers, who are 3-3. They haven't really beaten any good teams. They did beat the Broncos, who just embarrassed the Saints. So do with that what you will. As far as offense goes, they're bottom of the league, but they do have a top 7 defense. So what are your concerns going into this game? Jacob, go ahead, because you've been awfully quiet.
I don't know, just the defense, you have a real test.
Yeah.
Get everybody back, which is good. So
Yeah, offensively.
Yep.
Man, I tell you what, Dicker the kicker sure can put it through the uprights, can he? We had like 9 field goals the other night. They can't get it in the end zone. That's what I'm watching. That's what I'm concerned about. This team that can't seem to find the end zone, do they come out and all of a sudden drop their nuts? And then, then you really know how bad we are defensively. That's what I'm watching. Now, I say that they still have Herbert at quarterback. I wanted to say Bear. That's that New Orleans in me, no matter how many times I see his name. Yeah. I mean, he's a good quarterback, but I'm intrigued by that. They don't have a running game to speak of at times. It comes and goes. I'll go back to my main point. If they can move the ball on us and get in the end zone, I'm going to be really concerned.
Miles, are you concerned about Spencer Rattler against this good of a defense, even with a healthy team?
I'm concerned for Spencer Rattler versus the damn, when they run the 7-on-7s. I mean, yeah, this team, the Chargers, and they're at home. Like, yeah, I'm very concerned. Is Boza playing?
Oh, I don't know. I can try to find it out.
If he is, they haven't done the injury report yet. So,
what'd you say?
I said they haven't done the injury report yet. So,
okay, yeah, I think it's a Thursday.
Right? Well, yeah. I mean, regardless, he's going to be, faced with another challenge of being a starting quarterback in the NFL. I would love for him to overcome the struggles and the challenges that are, going his way. But I think reality sort of is going to set in. You have zero rhythm with anybody on the offense. Even if people come back, you don't really have rhythm with them. You're not at home, so you don't have the crowd advantage. You still don't seem to have anything going offensively, like something that you could just be your go-to. And it seems like every time he throws it to somebody, they get injured. Maybe I'm just got recency bias for him throwing a 5-yard out to Chris Olave, and Chris Olave's got a concussion now or whatever. Well, yeah. But he's got an arm, so I think the Saints should have just got Joe Flacco at this point. If I'm being real, guys, Joe Flacco.
The overall takeaway from this episode is that Miles is not a fan of Spencer Rattler.
I was expecting the opposite. I was thinking we're gonna have some good back and forth, and I'm just like,
sad part is like I can't really argue against it. I guess
I'm cool if Hayner's in. I will say this: I think Spencer Rattler and Jake Hayner are gonna be, journeymen in the NFL. They'll be great backups for teams.
Yeah.
I also would like this. I'd also like to see Hayner get a fair chance. Like I'm with you, Patty. I understand why you go Spencer Rattler here, but even dating back to like the preseason, I don't think Rattler pulled away from Hayner the way people pretended to. That competition was neck and neck the entire way.
Yeah.
Nobody
sees it that way. Anyways.
Yeah. I understand why you're going Spencer Rattler here because you want to see what you have in him, but also I kind of want to see what you have in Jake Hayner. Like, I don't think this is the case. I'm with you, Miles. Like, I think they're both. Yeah, I'm gonna explain. I think they're both backup quarterbacks at best, right? But what if hypothetically Hayner is a starting quarterback, but you never even give him a chance? Like you're giving Rattler the chance to prove he's not. Why is Jake Hayner not getting the chance when he's kind of looked better at times? You know what I mean? Like,
no, I think that's fair to give Jake Hayner a chance. Granted, to give anybody a real fair chance, you got to, have some type of healthy offense. They got to get some type of rhythm going. So at least play over 4 games, 5 games in a season. I mean, I don't think any of them is going to get a fair chance per se. But what the circumstances we're dealing with, yeah, a fair chance. Let's see what he could do versus the Chargers, or at least I mean, it's not the smartest thing to do, and this is not college football, but maybe you play the other one, the other half or something. I don't know. At this point, it's sort of like,
yeah.
I mean, unless Rattler gets benched,
that would be crazy.
I think so. If it's a relatively close game because both offenses are just terrible, which is that's not out of the realm of possibility, right?
Right.
I could see it. Like if you tell me the offense has done nothing in the first half and it's like 3-0 Chargers after one, you don't go to Jake Haener and be like, hey,
I want to
we
say
have a
this.
chance to win the game.
If Jake Haener walks down the Chargers and beats the Chargers and beats Justin Herbert, you are never going to hear the end of me. I'm just letting you know. I'm not going away.
I wonder if it's a case of like they know they have a backup quarterback in Jake Haener, but they don't know if they have anything in Spencer Rattler. You know what I mean? If that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. Like you could see a world next year where Jake Haener is solidified as the backup, but Spencer Rattler isn't even on the roster.
I mean,
the starting quarterback is Cam Ward or Shador Sanders.
You don't want to see me react to the Saints with Cam Ward. I'll tell you right now, unhinged.
That's exactly what I want to see.
Is it a must-win game?
Yes,
Definitely.
Yeah, well, it depends what your goal is. I think I wrote that down too. It depends what your goal is.
You wrote the question. Don't snark at the question. It's your question.
No, I know. Well, but I wrote it and I wrote like a little slashy slash, and then it said, "What's your goal for the season?" Right? Because like that question could be answered one of two ways. If your goal right now is just to say, "Screw it," like let's just play the young guys and lose, then it's not a must win. You just want to see some type of.
Your slash goes into the game I want to play.
Okay. I think if you want to be successful this year, yes, it's a must win. Like there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I agree. Let's go into my game because I think it kind of goes into what your question is. So they do still have a chance at winning the division, especially now that the Bucs are kind of starting to be decimated at receiver. Falcons lose again. Like they're still in it, right? So I want to know, you got to choose one. The path of the Saints from here until whenever. Retool, rebuild, or go for it. Pick one. If you're the GM, you pick the path that they go down.
What is go for it like retool? What do you mean?
No, go for it as you're trying to win a division and win a Super Bowl this year.
And what is retool? Is that rebuild? Is that the same thing?
That's what you tend to believe teams should do, not tear it completely down. Instead of saying rebuild, we'll say burn it down.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
all right.
I was like, so there's three options, and I don't feel like there's actually three options here.
Retool, burn it down, or go for it this year. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, the problem is I don't know if they're good at retooling, but I'm never going to advocate. I'm not going to be an advocate for burning it down because that's dangerous. You could live in mediocrity for the rest of your life. You could be the Browns. It's going to be awful. I'm always going for it. You know me. I'm always going for it. Every offseason. I come into the offseason, I'm like, man, this season sucked. We got to trade for draft picks, and then they don't. And then by week one, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, Jameis Winston just threw a friggin' long bomb in the preseason to Marquez Callaway, and they're the future, buddy. And that's how my brain works, and it never goes away. So,
Miles, I'm making you wait. I want to hear from Jacob because I know you're about to come with this pessimistic answer, and I'm ready for it. But I wanted to build in your brain a little more. So, Jacob, give me your answer.
I say go for it right now. I mean, the way the division's looking, Bucks just lost two of their receivers. Atlanta's, like you said, they lost. So, I mean, you still got a chance. I say go for it.
Yeah. I think I'm more along with Miles here. Go ahead, Miles.
Excuse my French. What the fuck are we actually going for? Win the division.
That's what I was going to say. When you say go for it, I was going to say for what?
Good quarterbacks in the playoffs and lose and waste my damn time. No, you burn. You either retool or you burn it. There's no other option because look at everything we've stated today. You've got a defense that isn't a top 5 defense anymore. They barely know themselves. You got vets that just keep aging. You got no quarterback. Your best quarterback is Derek Carr. Where's that ever going to get you? Your offense is basically in disarray because they keep getting injured. There's nothing sustainable here. The only thing that you might be able to say is some of the stars. But even then, you got to trade some of them. You got to try to get something for them. Some of them can stay. I'm not saying trade everybody, but moves have to be made so that we can start saying, okay, we know where to go, from this point. Like, there's nowhere to go from this point. You win the division and what? Probably still going to lose versus those teams in our division. With them hurt, like, they still probably have smack us because we're just not that good. And even if we do win, let's say we get to the playoffs. Let's say we're playing a good team in our conference. What are we going to do versus the 49ers? Not a damn thing. That's what we're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything versus anybody good. That's just what it is. I hate to say it. I really wish this was that season, when like Super Bowl season, y'all remember, we were like down almost every game and came back. And it was like, but they're winning. This season, like, we're down and we just stay down. Like, there's just no hope. People are smoking Black and Miles left and right in New Orleans right now. Crime's going up. Patty's drinking more. I don't know what to do. Right? You know what I'm saying? Dogs are barking louder. It's just the world isn't right because the Saints are. Every game, I make sure I go online and listen to Yam live and just hear his rant because it resonates with how mad I am. But I can't say to rat that shit. I just can't. I can't. I'm not about to scream for Derek Carr. Pause. I'm not about to be happy that Jake Hayner's getting played. I'm not about to be happy that Spencer Rattlers. We're trying this out. I want to be happy about wins. We're not being happy about wins. We're being happy about, maybe he gets an opportunity and we can see where we can go from here. We're not going anywhere with the people we have on this team right now. And especially if Dennis Allen's the damn coach.
That was everything I hoped for and more.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yep.
Why is Taysom Hill our savior? Taysom Hill? Our savior?
You're not about to do it.
We can't slander Taysom Hill.
We're not going after the Mormon missile.
I don't think you're necessarily.
He is Mormon. Come on, bro. That can't be what sets you over the edge.
Anyway,
hold up. I want to clarify one thing.
Go ahead.
Before you even answer, I misunderstood the question. I thought we were talking about for next year. I do not think that we go all in for the rest of this season. I just want to shut that down right. But
you still don't agree to completely burn it down. I think that's your overall point.
I don't think burning it down because, like, you look at the Panthers, they did that and look at their outcome.
Yeah, this ain't baseball. So, you can't Astros or Orioles your way into this thing. And I'm sorry, I'm off subject.
Here's my. So, I guess I lean towards. I don't know, because I don't know if what I want to do counts as just retooling, because I think it's issues from the top down. Like, everybody keeps talking Dennis Allen. Mickey is skating like Apollo Ono right now. Like,
facts. Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? There's bigger issues than just Dennis Allen. Like,
correct.
You know what I mean? They're not drafting good. They're making wrong. Every decision they make seems to be wrong. Like, I don't know, man. Like, listen, Derek Carr didn't work out. I understand why you do that. I'm not going to pretend like I was mad that they signed Derek Carr because I was with it. Like, you took a swing, it didn't work, fine. But when that keeps happening, I'm like, ugh. And then, like, to Miles' point, who do you have on this team that's really worth, like, building around right now? You got, like, you just gave Alvin a bunch of money. He's a 30-year-old running back. Marshawn's probably your best. Marshawn and DeMario are your best defensive players. You're only going to go so far with, like, the center of your team being a cornerback, as good as he is. You need more than that. You trade him and get some assets for it while you still can. DeMario's at the end of his career. Cam's at the end of his career. Tyron's at the end of his career. And listen, you make the playoffs this year, guess what? You're getting another season of Dennis Allen. I'm sorry, like, you're not, you know what I mean? And what I think the ceiling is what happened. You do what the Bucks did last year, and maybe you upset the Eagles in the first round because you got a home playoff game. Cool. Now your draft pick's even worse. Like, I think I'm never going to say fully tank like that. I don't know. You can't just go out there and try to lose games. I don't think that actually happens, but if my option is, hey, you can ride with Spencer Rattler the rest of the year and just see what happens. And if it doesn't work, then you got a top 5 pick, and then you get a Cam Ward or Shador Sanders. And you look at the Texans and see what happens when you get a franchise quarterback. It changes everything. Suddenly everything else around it looks better.
If we get a Texans type of draft, when we get a quarterback and we get like some star linebacker, some star defensive player, I might moan on live.
look, and that's a huge ask, right? Like, to assume you would get a top pick and all of a sudden be the Texans is crazy. Like, those draft classes don't happen often,
right?
But I don't know, man. It's just, you're talking about being stuck in mediocrity. If you completely burn it down, what are we calling what we've been doing for the last 5 years?
You shut your mouth.
I think it's mediocrity. It is the definition of mediocrity. You are 7-9, however many games we play these days. Like, that is mediocrity. The Browns have just been doing it for 10 times longer than we have. But make no mistake about it. This is mediocrity. And if you keep insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that's what we're doing.
Here's the thing.
And something needs to change. Something has to change.
We're going to get healthy. Cool. And we're going to win games. And we're going to back our way into the playoffs. And we're going to Eli Manning our way to the Super Bowl.
Listen, I want you to be right. Let me tell you, if we make it to the playoffs, at that point, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in the playoffs, I'm trying to win games. But
let's be ignorant fans together. No, I'm just saying it now because if it happens, then I can point back at this. And if it doesn't, I'll be like, listen, we all knew.
Look, it's also hard for me to just like show up on Sunday and pull for them to lose. Like, I can't do that. That's not in my blood. I'm going to pull for them to win every week, but I'm also not going to be upset if they do lose.
I don't know, man. When they didn't play on Sunday, I had a good ass Sunday, bro. Like,
it's stress free. You don't have to worry about anything.
I had a pretty good Sunday too, actually. Now that you mentioned
it, a beautiful day outside, man. It was just.
I can tell you they're not going to ruin this Sunday for me. I'll be enjoying Tay with the rest of them. I'm not concerned about what Cam and them are doing on the field.
I'm sorry, you said you'd be enjoying who?
Tay, the one and only. Yes, you heard me right.
Is that Taylor Swift?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Per.
You cut out. I feel like it was during some Taylor Swift slander, and I don't appreciate it.
No, I said per. You know.
Oh. Yeah. All right. Do we got anything else? We've been going for a little while. This was the Miles show, and I very much appreciate it.
My name's Jeff.
Close us out, Patty.
22 jump street.
Lord, I need an anytime touchdown score from each one of you, and then we're gonna go home happy.
Anytime touchdown.
That's
score.
right.
Mm-hmm. What we got? I'm not gonna lie, it's a rough one because if you're looking at the Chargers, they can't get in the end zone, and the Saints, I'm not sure they can either. The odds might be through the roof.
I got one. I'll give you one. I'm going. Who you got?
J.K. Dobbins.
I was going Kamani Vidal.
There you go. One of them running backs is getting in the end zone.
I'm going to go Kamara.
Okay.
Blake Groupie? Does that work?
It works, technically. I mean, it could happen.
How about over or under 2.5 total touchdowns for the entire game? Not just the Saints or just the Chargers combined. Over or under 2.5?
On paper, right? Like looking at these two teams, I want to say under, but I know Saints football, and I know it's going to be an over.
Yeah, it's going to be over.
Okay. I feel like we get a kick return for a touchdown in there somewhere. Like, I don't know how it happens. A scoop and score. It's not going to come from the offense.
They
Maybe a
could.
little
Or
taste
Herbert's
of
going to come out and
him.
throw 5 freaking touchdowns all of a sudden. It's going to be like, how did this happen?
They about to get cooked by Luke McCaffrey. Or no, who's the white dude they got now? Luke McCaffrey's in Washington. Who's the one they drafted?
I don't even know.
I can't think
Random
of his
white
name.
guy, number 3.
He's number 10, I think.
No, he's literally just random white guy number 3 is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Fair. All right, close this out.
That's not elite cracker status yet. We'll get there.
Can I say one thing real quick?
You've said a lot of things. Why not say one?
The way Patty starts these shows off is sort of similar to when I go to Cane's and they say like some weird Cane's slogan, like Cane's chicken what you picking or something.
Box you picking?
That's equivalent to what you do, and you strike me every time with one, and it's probably one of the funniest things that happens every week. So shout out to Patty for that.
Absolutely.
You know what's funny? I just do it. I didn't even know I was going to say that until I said it. I was sitting searching for something until it started, and then I was like, "Oh, that's it," and then I just said it.
You're probably getting a mental asylum in the '60s for just being able to come up with something that witty.
When you've done over like probably 150 different podcast episodes in the last 2 years, I think you get pretty good at it.
He's that type of dad that just goes to the kid's school and just says the funniest shit to all the other kids.
Yeah. I'm hungry. Nice to meet you, Hungry. I'm Dad. That's the old-fashioned one.
My son doesn't like that one.
Yeah, well.
I've never heard that in my life.
You know what I don't like right now? New Orleans Saints football. And we're going to close out this podcast on that note. I appreciate you guys for listening. If you made it this far, hopefully we were at least entertaining. I know there's a lot of fan takes tonight. You know, we'll try and break down some stuff a little more. I'll be honest. I came in full emotion. I think the rest of us did as well. But it's real and it's raw. And we like it raw. No pause. Okay, I'm done. I promise. That's it. Follow us everywhere at Be in the Know. Follow Miles at Miles Boudreaux. Follow Big Easy Nation. Follow the Dave Rainey. Follow me if you want. I don't care. And that's it. Who dat?